Yeah. Yeah. In our last video, we covered the last 16:11 in the King James Bible. That was Revelation chapter 16, verse 11. And that's where the last numeric form of 16:11 appears visually to us. And we saw what structure that was and how it was tied into Isaiah chapter 66 and men's final condition of unrepentant heart, rejecting the 16:11 King James Bible. This structure that repeatedly comes up over and over in the King James Bible with 16:11 really reminds me of the honeycomb and how God has created the honeycomb, and he takes the glory of the honeycomb with its hexagonal structure, and how the bee by nature produces this structure. And God is serious about glory. He's going to take the glory to the last bit for everything. And we're going to see today that he takes the glory even by occasion of the last 16 that appears in the King James Bible. Now that would be Revelation chapter 22, verse 16, because that's the last place a final numeric 16 appears. Let's go into that today. And let's read from page 119 of Concealed from Christians for the Glory of God, 1611 King James Bible. You have seen that the books of the Bible have all been selected by God. They have all been ordered by God. God has divided the chapters. So we rhetorically ask, are all the verses of the Bible gathered and placed and numbered by God as well? To answer no here is to discredit the Word of God, which shows otherwise on every page. And we're going to see how verse 16, the final 16 to appear in the King James Bible, follows this same pattern of revelation, of the orderliness of God. It also means you believe God has departed the raising of his word, the Bible, at this incomplete place, and the glory of these miracles, wonders, and signs belong to another. If God has not done this with the last 16 of the Bible, then who has, is what I am asking. Because Isaiah 48:11 says, for mine own sake, even for mine own sake will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. God is very serious about his glory. And if he's serious about his glory in the honeycomb produced by the bee with its hexagonal structure, how much more is he serious about his glory for the word of God? Now here it is. This is the last 16 of the King James Bible, and it's Revelation 22:16, which says, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. You see the clear revelation of 16:11 King James Bible in this? It's in it 4 times. I'm going to bring it to you because I see it clearly. We're going to take them one by one. And what we're going to do is we're going to do what God has done in dissecting this verse. He's broken it up into a clear demarcation of 2, right at the period. So we have, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches, period. That's the top half of the verse. And then he continues with, I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. And that's the bottom half. Again, demarcated with a period in the middle to dissect for you the top and the bottom. Now, witness number 1 is going to appear in the top half of the verse because we see these words, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. Now that is Jesus quoting right here, Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. Now, right there is an 11. So we see that by Jesus quoting Revelation 1:1 in the top half of this final 16 verse in the Bible, we have a 16 and an 11. That's amazing. But this is going to happen 4 times. 4 times in this verse. His final witness with the final 16 in the King James Bible is going to be a fourfold witness testifying to you that the 1611 King James Bible is the Word of God. That was witness number 1, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And then here's where he quotes, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. That is what Jesus is quoting. And not only is he quoting the Word of God, but he's supplying the revelation of the King James Bible, 1611, right here, when the King James Bible was published. Amazing. God will not give that glory to another. It is for him and him alone. Now we're going to look at witness number 2 and 3, because it's a combined witness. This time it's going to take place in the second half of the verse, where it says in the second half of the verse, I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. These words that I just read, they are a quotation from Isaiah chapter 11. Wow. Another 16 and an 11. This is the second witness right here. But not only is it Isaiah chapter 11, supplying the 11 to go with the 16 to be a 16:11, but let's look exactly at the quotation from Isaiah 11. Now, here it is, because it's in 2 parts. The first part being verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. That's 11:1 from Isaiah that Jesus is quoting. But he's mixed it with verse 10 from Isaiah 11. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So he's quoting, mixing verse 1 and verse 10. So guess what? When you put that together, now we have another 11, because Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1 and 10 supplies one more 11 for a twofold testimony right here. 0 has no value, so we need not mention it. 16:11. 16:11 once in the chapter, and 16:11 in the verses that he's quoting. That's three witnesses so far in this final 16 of the King James Bible. But wait, there's one more. Don't go anywhere till you've seen this. Witness number 4. I remind you, because I teach you, not only do I reveal these things, but I teach you how they are to be understood by the mind of God, the mind of Christ. So let's remember what I've taught you. English is God's destination language for the Bible, and it came from seeds, the Hebrew seeds of the Old Testament. And every seed grows, and it did grow into the Greek stock of the New Testament. But after that, on its way to the blossoming in English with all of its fine details like we're seeing right here, things that couldn't be seen in the seed, like this. They couldn't even be seen in the growth, like this, right here. They could only be revealed in the blossoming English, right here. But before that, between this and the Greek stock, remember, it passed through linguistically Latin, and it picked up qualities from Latin that appear, they peak out of the English of the King James Bible. So for witness number 4, let's take a look at that with that in mind. And witness number 4 shows us this. In the top half of the verse, It says these words, I, Jesus. I, Jesus. Now let's remember that I right there. And then in the second half of the verse, the bottom half, we see it again. I am. So we have it starting with an I at the top, starting with an I at the bottom. What does that mean? Well, I, remember, is the Latin numeral for one. This right here. Picking up the Latin and peaking with Latin peaks in the blossoming English of the finished Bible, the Destination Language Bible, the King James Bible, the 1611 King James Bible, because it is Latin for I, and we have I and I, we have an 11. You see that? We have an 11, a 1611 right there. That's four witnesses. Now, I ask you, are you going to give the glory of that to another? Or are you going to give glory to whom glory and honor and wisdom and riches are due? Jesus Christ, the Word of God.